Hello guys, I hope you're doing well today. Coming at you with the next excerpt of my first novel in a series, Black and White Odyssey of Eden, continuing where I left off, so let's have at this. The scientist stared at Thomas through the console, even more melancholy than he was before. "He will not tell her," he said aloud. Tears welled up in his eyes, and despite himself, began rolling uncontrollably down his face. His body jerked with silent sobs, momentarily. Then he straightened up and prepared to tell Thomas what to say, voice quivering in sadness. "Okay. Then say this to yourself," he said to himself. "I would not want to love anyone who would ever request that I give up." He fell back into a chair a few feet behind him and put his face in his hands. "I would not want to love anyone who would ever request that I give up," Thomas thought. What torture it would be. If that is why she loves me, if she indeed does. We only have moments. We need to get these children out of this building. "What? What's going on, Thomas?" she asked, anxiety building in her voice. She began to rustle from his embrace. "The Kremlin is launched. It's heading straight for the harbor. We have minutes at most." Sarah gently pulled herself out of Thomas's hands. "What have they done?" she whispered below her breath, Thomas struggling to hear. "This truly is it, isn't it, Thomas?" Thomas's head bowed. Yes. He stared down at the ground, contemplating what he had just told her. He slowly raised his hands to stare at his palms, calluses of a man whose very hands built the world that was moments away from being destroyed, met his eyes. Several moments passed, the two of them quiet. "Don't give up." Thomas's brow furrowed. "We need to get the children out of here, Sarah." "Thomas, where is there to go? How are we going to escape a blast like the one heading our way?" "Give her hope, Thomas. As long as you don't give up, there is a way. Give her hope." "I know a way, Sarah." At that point, the sound of a helicopter buzzed overhead, and a mortar blasted a hole in the corridor Thomas had so recently walked down before. Gunfire began to dance about the fields of grass and asphalt beyond the building as soldiers began to yell various orders and warnings. Thomas had been knocked to the ground, laying atop Sarah, protecting her from the blast. The two children, who had been playing about and running up and down the corridor, stood before what had just happened, also knocked to the ground, sobbing uncontrollably. The blast had only missed them by several seconds. More volleys of mortars blasted the city, as yet another barrage of Chinese soldiers, warships, and jets rushed the harbor. "Everyone, follow me!" Thomas yelled as loud as he could. He truly did know a path that might lead them to safety. He had discovered a bunker only weeks before, apparently abandoned, buried deep below a mountain. It could withstand a nuclear strike of several megaton magnitude, he thought desperately. Despite his military position, he was far from any organized structure that would take him in. No NATO, no underground army bunkers he had been made aware of. At least none that could withstand this kind of blast. He was the leader of his own path, and he would damned well lead. But he had come here entirely alone, leaving his post and most of his laboratory equipment. He had imagined this would be the end, and saw no reason to be with anyone other than Sarah and the children surrounding them, which is why he knew he needed to act. This was why Sarah was truly so desperately in love with him. Even now, in the face of such unbeatable odds, he still had not given up. As the mud smeared across Thomas's lab coat was relentless in its insult of how far his profession had fallen, so too he soldiered forward as a taunt to the odds that had befallen him. And that's it for this section, guys. I'll come at you with the next one later. Love y'all. Peace.